Let's learn English through easy stories. Today we asked some people, parents, do you have any hilarious stories about your kids? Twinkle, twinkle, little star. When my son Max was a toddler, he developed a very funny habit. Whenever we entered a big place like hotels, large restaurants, or malls, Max would sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star at the top of his lungs. It started in the mall one day, and he was just having fun. We were walking near the food court when he suddenly shouted, Twinkle, twinkle, little star. The sound echoed through the building, and people around us started laughing. At first, I tried to shush him, but then I realized he was just enjoying himself. It wasn't just a simple song. It was a full performance. He would pause, look around, and then belt out the next line with all his energy. How I wonder what you are. Then every time we went to a public place, he would do the same thing. He'd stop in his tracks, his little face lighting up with excitement, and then start singing loudly and proudly, ignoring all the people around us. It was as if he was the star of his own little concert. Soon it became a family joke, and we started calling him Max Twinkle because of how often he would do it. It was his signature move, and everyone who met him seemed to find it adorable. It wasn't just the sound, it was the pure joy and energy he brought with him. Max didn't care about what people thought. He was just having fun, and that was the most important thing to him. Even strangers would laugh when they heard him. Some would smile and join in, humming the tune along with him. Max, oblivious to all the attention, would continue singing, completely lost in the joy of the moment. It was one of the cutest things he did as a toddler, and we still remember those moments fondly. The Sock Stylist. This question made me remember so many cute memories. My daughter Maria has always had a good sense of style. When she was around 6 years old, she decided that kid socks were boring. She went to borrow socks from everyone in the house. At first, we thought it was just a little game, but it quickly became an obsession. Maria loved trying on all the socks, mixing and matching them in her own creative way. I remember one morning, I couldn't find my favorite pair of blue socks, and I searched everywhere, under the couch, in my drawers, and even in the laundry basket. That's when I noticed something strange. Every sock in the laundry basket seemed to be missing its match. I looked over at Maria, who was proudly wearing mismatched socks. One was a pink one with flowers, and the other was a blue striped one. "Mom, look at my new style," Maria exclaimed, spinning around with excitement. She had combined all kinds of socks from different family members, creating her own fashion statement. At first, I didn't know whether to laugh or be annoyed, but Maria was so proud of herself. She confidently wore mismatched pairs all week, showing them off to anyone who would listen. She even started telling her friends at school, "Look, I have the coolest socks." We tried to get her to stop borrowing everyone's socks, but Maria wasn't having it. She kept telling me, "Mom, socks don't need to match to be fun." She would wear mismatched socks to every family gathering, and people couldn't help but laugh at her boldness. We'd get together for Sunday dinners, and Maria would proudly sit at the table, her colorful socks peeking out from under her dress. Eventually, we gave up trying to stop her, and every time we found mismatched socks around the house, we would just laugh. It became a funny part of her childhood that we always talk about. To this day, whenever I see a mismatched pair of socks, I can't help but smile and think of Maria's unique fashion sense. It was one of those unforgettable moments in her childhood that we'll always cherish. The pizza delivery chaos. When my son Ethan was 5 years old, he found his idol. One of his favorite things was watching the pizza delivery drivers come to our house. He thought they were the coolest people with their hats, bikes, and big smiles. He dreamed of becoming a pizza guy. One afternoon, after seeing the delivery guy drop off our pizza, Ethan announced that he wanted to help deliver pizza too. He was so excited, and I thought it would be a fun little game. Ethan grabbed a pizza box from the kitchen, put on a small cap we had lying around, and marched outside with great confidence. "I'm a pizza delivery man now," he declared. But then things took a hilarious turn. Instead of just delivering pizza to our house, Ethan decided to knock on every door on our street. He went up to random houses, knocked loudly on the door, and proudly handed out pizza boxes. "We didn't order any pizza," one neighbor said, looking confused. "Mom, I'm delivering pizza," Ethan replied, with his wide grin, not realizing the mix-up he was causing. At first, I thought he was just playing, but when I started hearing neighbors call, asking about their pizza delivery, I rushed outside to stop him. I spent the next hour running around the neighborhood, apologizing for Ethan's delivery mistakes and explaining that he was just a little confused. Some neighbors laughed and took their free pizza, while others were a bit puzzled, but they were all so kind and understanding. When I finally caught up with Ethan, he proudly handed me a half-empty pizza box. "I think they liked my pizza, Mom," he said, still smiling, oblivious to the chaos he had caused. We laughed about it for days. It was one of those funny, memorable moments that I will never forget. And now, every time we order pizza, I have to make sure Ethan doesn't try to deliver it himself. The sticky note story. My 6-year-old son Lucas has always had a deep love for stationery. From an early age, he loved using pens, markers, and especially sticky notes. Of course, we supported his interest because it encouraged his creativity and, of course, his love for studying. It was cute to watch him write little notes, sometimes for his toys or even for the family. One afternoon, I was in the kitchen preparing lunch when Lucas suddenly ran in, his eyes sparkling with excitement. He was holding a pack of colorful sticky notes, but he didn't show me right away. "Mom, look at what I did," he exclaimed, pointing proudly to the living room. I turned around and was immediately stunned. The walls, the fridge, even the windows were covered in sticky notes. Every inch of space seemed to be decorated. Before I could say anything, he raced back to the living room, ready to show me more of his work. I followed him, unable to hide my surprise. "Lucas, what have you done?" I called out, feeling a mix of confusion and laughter. With a grin, Lucas said, "I'm decorating the house. It's so pretty." I stood there for a moment, trying to process what had just happened. It was clear he had been busy, very busy. Sticky notes were everywhere, on the fridge, on the windows, even the TV screen. At first, I was worried about the mess, but when I looked at his face, I saw how proud he was of his creation. He had worked so hard, and it didn't matter that the house looked completely different. Every time I tried to peel a sticky note off, Lucas would rush over and say, "Don't, I'm still decorating." It took hours to clean up. By the time I finished, my hands were covered in sticky residue. But as I looked around at the house, now clean again, I couldn't help but smile. Lucas had taken his decorating so seriously, and it was hard not to admire his creativity. The house was certainly not the way I would have decorated it, but it was his way of expressing himself, and I had to respect that. To this day, whenever I see sticky notes, I remember Lucas's colorful masterpiece. It's one of those unforgettable moments in his childhood that we'll always cherish. The bubble bath flood. One evening, my daughter Lily, who was 5 at the time, decided she wanted to take a bubble bath. She had always loved bath time, and the bubbles made it even more fun. But on this particular day, things got a little out of hand. I had just finished cleaning up the kitchen when Lily called out from the bathroom, "Mom, I'm ready for my bath." I smiled and walked over to help her get started. As I opened the bathroom door, I was immediately hit with a thick cloud of bubbles. I stepped inside and I could hardly see Lily through the foam. It was as if she had created her own bubble storm in the tub. "Lily, what did you do?" I asked, trying not to laugh. She looked up at me with a grin. "Mom, I used the whole bottle of bubble bath soap," she said proudly. I couldn't believe it. The bubbles had spilled out of the tub and onto the floor, creating a foamy sea that covered the bathroom. It was like walking into a giant cloud of soap. "Lily, you're going to flood the bathroom," I said, trying to keep a straight face as I looked at the foam that was now halfway up the door. She giggled, oblivious to the chaos she had caused, and added, "I just wanted more bubbles, Mommy." It was too late to fix it then, so I just let her enjoy her bath for a little longer. After she was done, we spent the next half hour cleaning up the mess. I couldn't stop laughing, but it was one of those funny, sweet moments that I'll always remember. That night, we had to call it the bubble bath flood every time Lily wanted to take a bath. It was a funny memory that we still talk about, and every time she's in the bath now, I always remind her, "Remember, only a little bubble bath soap, please." It became a tradition to laugh about it, and it's one of those moments I'll always cherish. The Great Chocolate. One afternoon, my 4-year-old daughter Emma decided she was going to make a special dessert for the family. She had been watching me bake and thought it would be fun to surprise us. She gathered all the chocolate in the house, yes, every single bar, and melted it down. When I walked into the kitchen, I couldn't believe my eyes. The kitchen floor was covered in melted chocolate, and there was Emma, standing proudly in the middle of it, holding a spoon as if she had just created something wonderful. "Look, Mom, it's a chocolate river," she exclaimed, grinning from ear to ear. I looked around and saw that not only was the floor covered, but the dog was sitting in the middle of the mess, licking chocolate off his paws. It was a sweet disaster. I couldn't help but laugh, but at the same time, I realized the cleanup was going to be a huge job. Emma was so proud of her creation, and though it was a mess, it was also one of the funniest things I've ever seen. After hours of cleaning, we still laugh about the chocolate river to this day. It became a family joke we'll never forget. Thank you for watching. What was your favorite story from the video? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fun lessons. Keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next video.